welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. On today's episode, we're going to learn how to make sausage patty sandwiches on ciabatta buns with roasted red, yellow, and orange peppers and provolone cheese. These were so good. I have some beautiful pictures I'll be putting up about this podcast. It's a little bit of an effort to make this, but not really. You can do the peppers ahead of time. And if you've never roasted peppers before, it's not terribly difficult. If you have a gas stove, it's a lot easier because you can do them right over the gas flame on your stovetop. And you can just take the peppers and hold them with cooking tongs over that flame and just let the skin darken and bubble and then go on with the rest of the process that I'm going to talk about. However, I have an electric stove, so that's not an option. And this is what I did to roast my peppers. I washed my peppers and cleaned them. You don't have to remove the stem and seeds or anything. You want to leave your peppers whole. And then I wiped them with olive oil. You just took some olive oil on my fingers and rubbed them all over the peppers. And I placed them on a foil-lined baking sheet. Now, I didn't do them under the broiler. I kind of, if you do them under the broiler, sometimes they over darken and it actually goes into the meat of the pepper. And it's not good. So what I did, I put them on my foil-lined baking sheet about in the middle of the oven, and I have a convection oven, so I used my convection feature. If you don't have a convection oven, it's no big deal. It'll still work. I roasted them at 400 degrees until the skins began to brown and bubble, and that takes about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, half hour. You just want to keep an eye on them, and what I did was once they started to brown, I turned the peppers a little bit and made sure that they were browning the whole way around. And they're not going to brown solidly brown. They're going to get brown spots and bubbles in the skin, and that's all you need. When they look like they've gotten browned and have some bubbles on them, you're going to take them out of the oven and put them into a pot with the lid on to cool. A lot of people say to put them into a paper bag, but what happens is the moisture from the pepper makes your paper bag a soggy mess. If you do it this way, by putting them into a pot with a lid, you get to save all that moisture in there, all that juice that comes off the peppers, and you can save that and use it. And I think it's just easier and neater. And it also kind of helps the skins come off because it steams them in there too. So once they've cooled off, don't try to handle them too soon because believe me, they are hot, okay? So once they've cooled off, what you do is you just very carefully pick the peppers up and pick at the skin until you get some to pull up and it'll just peel right off of them. It's pretty amazing. The stem will pop out and then you want to get the seeds out of them. And now you've got your peppers. You want to remove all the skin off of them, remove the stem and the seeds, and then put them in a bowl and you can pour that juice very carefully right over your peppers and just leave them in the bowl there with their juice while you're doing the rest of the process here. So there's your peppers. If you do them on your stovetop, kind of the same thing. If you do them on a gas burner and you're holding them with tongs, you just want to keep turning them until they bubble and the skin will darken. And then you just put them right into a pot with a lid and let them cool in there. Same process. Now, for the sausage patties, I used a loose Italian sausage. They sometimes call it bulk sausage, and it has some seasonings and spices in it. Usually you can get regular Italian or hot Italian. You can use whichever you want in this recipe. And we're basically just going to make patties out of it. So you'll need 2 pounds of the loose Italian sausage, 1 egg, and 1 cup of seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. And you're going to mix your egg and your breadcrumbs in with the sausage, mix it well, and form it into patties. You can get probably 10 patties out of this. I think I got 8, and they were pretty big. So that's like a half pound, 4 half-pound patties out of it. That's a big patty. But you can get about 10, 12 patties out of this. So however you want to make them. If you want to make the bigger patties, what I did was I divided it into 8 balls equally sized to start with. Then I made my patties. And I used a square ciabatta bun. You can get these at Aldi or at larger grocery stores. And it's just ciabatta bread made into a bun, and they're usually square. If you can't find those, you can use a large round Italian roll. That'll work well too. You can make the patty sized with the bun, which is not a bad idea. unless you get a really enormous bun. Don't do that. That's too big. But make your patties and you bake them in the oven at 375 for about 30 minutes. You can turn them halfway through to make sure they brown on both sides, but it takes about 30 minutes to bake them. Now, to make your sandwiches, you're going to get your ciabatta bun and you're going to lightly toast it. You don't want to toast it like dark brown. Just want to nice little crisp it up a little bit. After you toast it, brush both inside parts of the bun with olive oil. Put your sausage patty on the bottom, and then a slice of provolone cheese, and then one of the roasted red peppers, or half of a roasted pepper, or an orange pepper or a yellow pepper. I roasted every color. I love all the colors. And just put like half or a whole pepper if you like them on the top. Put your bun on, and voila, you've got a delicious sandwich. So easy to make and just very impressive, especially if you're having company and you want to do something a little bit different. This is a kind of an impressive looking sandwich that you can do a lot of early prep to and have it done pretty quick. And you can serve it with a side of pasta sauce, your favorite kind of pasta sauce, just to dip it in and eat. And it's just a delicious sandwich. Okay, now as a side with this, we had roasted rosemary potatoes. These are so easy to make. It's just basically whatever type of potato that you'd like to use. You're not going to peel them. You can use a red skin potato. You can use the Yukon Golds, which are popular. You can use a regular old white cooking potato, nothing fancy. I would not recommend, however, using the big Idaho baking style potatoes because they tend to get too soft when you do something like this. So usually the regular old round white cooking potatoes work the best. And what you're going to do is take about, if you use a cookie sheet with sides that is, I believe, 10 by 15 cookie sheet with sides, you'll probably need about 3 pounds of potatoes. So scrub your potatoes really good, remove any bad spots, and then cut them into cubes about a 1/2 inch square or reasonably square, but cut them into cubes. And you want to, when you cut the cubes, put them into a pan of cold water as you're cutting, just to kind of rinses the extra starch off and whatnot there. Okay, once you get them all sliced, drain the water off, and then just spread them out on some paper toweling and kind of pat them on the top with paper toweling to dry them off a little bit. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to put them into a bowl, and we're going to put a 1/2 cup of olive oil onto them. And these are the spices that I use. You can use different things if you like, other flavors in here or a little bit of spice or whatever, but these are the basics. So what you want to do is use about a teaspoon of rosemary leaves or crushed rosemary. Either one is fine. If you prefer crushed, it does give you a little bit more flavor. So you can even take rosemary leaves that you have and crush them yourselves. Sprinkle those on the potatoes in the bowl, and then you're going to want about a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper or fresh ground pepper, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic and a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated onion. And stir those up with the olive oil until all the little potato cubes are very well coated. You're going to put those on the cookie sheet. I wouldn't put foil on the cookie sheet because sometimes the potatoes will stick to foil. So just put them on a plain cookie sheet and spread them out as good as you can so you have a single layer.
Should you do anything to the cookie sheet before you put the potatoes on?
No, because you've got olive oil on the potatoes. You put that 1/2 cup of olive oil and tossed it. So, but you have a good bit of olive oil there. Spread them out on the cookie sheet, and you're going to bake these at 400 for about 25 to 30 minutes. And what you do is while they're baking, every once in a while, take a spatula and go in and kind of move them around a little bit carefully. Don't knock them off into the oven, obviously, but you can take the pan out of the oven and do the same thing. But you want to kind of move them around and turn them a little bit and put them back in the oven. And you want to cook them until they start to get nice and brown and crispy on the edges and a little bit of crispiness to them. That's when they're really good. And what I like to do with these, once I have them baked, I will take them and scrape them off of the pan into a heated crock pot and just set the lid on them so they stay nice and hot. You can do this, like if you want to have both of these for dinner, you can actually get your potatoes going ahead of time and get them cooked, remove them into the crock pot, and then cook your sausage patties. So if you plan this right, like I like to say, like a PBS cooking show, you roast your peppers, have them in the pot cooling, do your potatoes, scrape them off into the crock pot still heating, bake your sausage patties, and then assemble everything, and they should be done just about at the same time, which is quite impressive to people who can't do this. I like to do this. It's like a game. Like, let's have everything done about the same time, and I challenge myself. Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes I screw up and mess up a step, but this is one of those things that you could probably get it all to come out at the same time. And these potatoes are so good. I've done them for the holidays or for parties, and I've used one of those giant sized foil roasting pans and done like 5 or 10 pounds of potatoes, and done a huge vat of them. And they're just so good. Everybody loves them. It's just something that's really good and flavorful and pretty enjoyable. So if you throw this meal together with the Italian sausage patty sandwich with roasted peppers on it and these delicious potatoes and a nice little spinach salad on the side, you've got a really nice, colorful, delicious meal and something completely different. So I hope you give it a try. I just love this, so I'm sure just about anybody would. Well, I hope you give it a try and see if you like it. I'm sure you will, because it's just delicious. I just love it.
And make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Mary Mac Bakehouse, on Twitter at Mary Mac Mixes, and on our website, marymacpodcast.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.